Hello and welcome to the Print on Demand Playbook Podcast. This is episode 11. My name is Kerry and I'm here with my co-host Adrian, and we're excited today to continue our part one. This is part two of profitable niches. We're actually talking about specific niches or niches, however you prefer to say it, that you can go into right now for print on demand and apparel and t-shirts. And so we're going to be diving into part two in this episode. I believe there's about 7 or 8 more niches that we're going to be talking about. So let's do it. We're excited. Let's jump in. All right, well, diving in here, I wanted to start it off by just doing a quick recap of the niches we covered in the part one of this. We got going, Adrian, got into it in that part one, and we were like, man, we're already like 50 minutes or an hour in. Let's split it into 2 parts. We kind of made the decision on the fly, and I think there's enough like really great info here to talk for another hour. So easily. In part one, we covered the dog. Well, we also covered, before I get into that, we covered like just briefly like what is a niche, what makes a profitable niche, those kind of things. And then we talked about the dog niche, the cat niche, the gym, or a little bit of the fitness niche, running. We talked about nursing, teaching, the Christian niche, and we also talked about family and personalization. And there is lots of really good stuff in that episode. So if you have not listened to part one, go back to episode 10, which is part one of profitable niches. With that being said, Adrian, take it away with niche number
10.
We're at 10.
I think this is number 10 actually. So we didn't have a clean like round number like 10, but man, like you said, we spent so much time digging in, drilling down on the 9 niches that we talked about in the last episode that it just made sense to make a second episode so that we don't have to cut short anything, that we don't have to hold back anything, and just kind of move through real quick. So I'm going to jump into niche number 10, and that is the LGBTQ plus niche. This is an extremely passionate community. There are extremely passionate supporters and allies of this community. And there are so many brands that are doing so well in this space. Not only can you leverage huge holidays like Pride Month, but this to me is an evergreen niche. Like, this niche will sell good all year round. And I've seen so many niches that just crush it in this space. So we said passion equals profits, and it is no different here. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kerry?
I was kind of just looking up the stats a little bit because I was just curious. So somewhere between like 7 and 8% of the population identifies as LGBTQ plus. Okay. So that might sound that's U.S. population. Okay. That might sound somewhat small. I guess that equates out to about 22 million, 23 million, somewhere in there. I think that's right. Could be wrong. But I would say the community around that is like, you don't have to build a brand just for people who identify as that. Like, right. The community around that and the support obviously is pretty massive. So I think if that's something that, that you support and you're passionate about, like, I think that could be a very profitable niche to get into. And this one falls again into that category that we've been talking about. We talked about this in the last episode, so I'm not going to go into it too in depth, but when there is anything going on in society around these niches, we talked about nursing with the pandemic, and we talked about, there's some different things in here. I don't know if we talked about police officers and law enforcement and those kind of things.
Military, yeah.
When there's things going on around these, and there's things happening, like, that usually creates a spike in demand or a spike in support. It creates more passion for the people who support this, this cause and this thing. So that's just something to think about. I think this niche falls into that category as well. Totally. So that can be really, really powerful to take advantage of.
I totally agree. I have a friend who's in the social justice space. Social justice niche, 7-figure business owner, started in 2020, just took off. There was so much going on around that time and so much controversy. And their business absolutely crush it. They still do. But what she told me is that every time there is something very polarizing in the news about social justice, then she gets a huge spike in customers. And she could send out an email about this and say, hey, support our business. We support this. This is what we think about this. And it's like, boom, man, it's like printing money.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm not just saying like, oh, that's great that you're profiting from this. Like, this is what she believes in. Like, this is truly her belief. She identifies with this niche. She is an amazing speaker. She's a very eloquent writer. She's very just inspirational by nature. And she's like the perfect person to own a business in this space. And she does very well for herself. So yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I want to mention is even if you're in a different niche, you can totally create LGBTQ plus inspired designs. I see it all the time. I have a friend who runs a 7-figure dog inspired brand. And every year around Pride, they will just create designs that show a dog and like the Pride flag or something like that. And they said that it does really well. So they actually pump up, like coming up to Pride Month, they'll like pump out new designs for Pride Month and they'll create like a Pride collection, but it's a dog inspired brand. And I see this across the board with so many brands. Like they cross these interests, especially around Pride Month. But what I will say is I think of this as an evergreen niche that you can sell all year round if you're doing like LGBTQ plus.
100%.
So did you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I'm going to jump into one on my list here. And, not like a ton to talk about around these, but I'll try to expound on them a little bit. Maybe you have some to add. One that I see that is actually growing, and there's actually I found a few statistics around this, but is the travel niche. It's kind of crazy. Like I know the economy and the different, recession, all these different things, like, the stats show that there's actually like more people traveling. It's been growing like crazy. I don't know if it still has to do with pandemic and those kind of things, like coming out of the pandemic, if just more people are feeling more comfortable. I mean, I think we're kind of past that at this point, I think. But the travel niche, like just in general, not just apparel, it's expected to rise 30% this year. Some statistics show, which is crazy. And so this is, again, an evergreen niche. I think a lot of opportunity, a lot of different things you can do around travel. I think in one of our last episodes, we even talked about, and because right now we're kind of focusing on print on demand niches, but we talked about that was on the podcast. We talked about the print on demand suitcases, right?
Oh, yes.
It's like, dude, that's so cool. That's so cool, right?
Travel bags,
I think people, I know this is true of me. Like I spend a lot of money on things for traveling. Like comfy clothes or like, luggage and different things like that and tags. Like there are some print on demands that sell like luggage tags. Like
I've seen that too.
You can actually do. Yeah. So travel is a really good one. I think more people should consider getting into this niche.
So I'm curious, are you thinking like creating travel inspired designs, or are you thinking of creating like a print on demand business where you have travel accessories and you print on demand for those, like the luggage or the luggage tags or something like that? What are you kind of thinking there?
I think both would be a great opportunity. I think the less competition would probably be in the travel accessories category. If you could find like, I don't know if this is out there with print on demand, maybe but if you could find like the toiletry bags, the little like zipper toiletry bags, if you could print on those, right?
Yeah.
You could do tote bags, you could do backpacks, you could do the suitcases, you can do the what did we just talk about?
Luggage tags.
Yeah. I mean, so there's quite a few like different things out there. I mean, there's even print on demand headphones.
Yep.
It's all about positioning it around travel, right? These items could cater to a lot of things, but positioning those around travel and doing designs based on travel. I mean, I think both could work. I think on the other hand, I think you could also just open a store around people who love to travel, and you could even niche down a little bit further. For instance, we have a student that has a brand around people who love to go on cruises. And it's specifically around like if you love to go on cruises and travel via cruise, go on cruises, those designs, his designs are like around that. He does really, really well with them. I'm trying to think of some of the specific like designs, but man, he has some really clever ones that are just
Nice.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And those people eat it up, if that's something you love to do, and it's like any other hobby, right?
Yeah.
It definitely can work. So I think either one of those ideas can work. Personally, I want to start one of those luggage. I want to sell some of that luggage. I think that's such a cool product.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a student who's actually a travel agent who started a travel inspired brand for African Americans. So she's
Oh,
African
wow.
American, she's a travel agent. Like how well does that work together, right?
Mhm.
So that one does kind of make sense, and I feel like you could create like a lot of funny slogans and maybe some sentimental ones. I feel like the funny ones would do the best personally. But yeah, so there are people out there in this space.
I think he's got one that says, "I like big boats and I cannot lie."
Oh, nice. I like that. That's
Like,
funny.
yeah, there's some good ones.
That's pretty funny. All right. Well, maybe I'll take the next one here. And this one I can actually speak to quite a bit. This is the vegan niche. So I know from experience, I eat a plant-based diet. And I know that this is a very, very passionate community. My wife also eats a plant-based diet.
Adrian, I eat a meat-based diet.
Do you?
So
Okay. Different ends of the spectrum.
I
Yeah.
only eat meat. I only eat meat.
The carnivore diet. I think that's what it's called. Doesn't
No,
Joe Rogan
yeah.
talk about that?
For real, that's a real thing. Yeah, there's like these
Yeah.
keto dudes that they're just like, I'm going carnivore
Oh,
for
they're
30
so
days.
intense. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so intense. And there's another one. Well, I guess keto is like a lot of meat, right? You essentially eat meat and veggies. You just cut out the carbs, right?
No carbs, no sugar. Yeah, for the most
Okay.
part. But
No
yeah,
carbs, no sugar.
it's
Yeah.
funny. It's weird because this is off subject, but it's weird because like there's a lot of veggies you can't eat, which is odd.
Interesting. High
Yeah,
carb or what?
I think it's like high carbs.
Like
Yeah,
probably potatoes.
yeah, you can't have potatoes for
Yeah,
sure.
okay. That kind of
But
makes
like I like green. You can have green beans, but
okay.
like can't really do like corn. I mean, there's different things like that are just I guess high in carbs, but it's really odd.
Interesting.
Anyways, get back. I'm sorry to interrupt you with
No,
my.
no, no, dude, it's all good, man. It's all good. So yeah, this I know for a fact is a very passionate niche and very, very supportive, close knit niche as well. So there are so many things you can do here to add value to this community, and there are so many ways that you can create designs. There's also, I noticed it being like identifying with this niche and my wife identifying with this niche, I've noticed a lot of overlapping interests. It's so much easier to know what the overlapping interests are when you're actually part of the niche. And this is one reason why I really recommend that people try to start a business around a niche that they already identify with, because they identify with it, so they know it as good as the other people, and they tend to be friends with other people that are in that niche as well. So there is one really successful vegan inspired company called Wholesome Culture, and these guys have a huge social media following. I want to say like over 700,000. Let's see on Instagram if I go to their
Some
page.
culture.
Also 796,000. 796,000
Wow.
followers. Yeah.
What's so funny? What's so funny about some of these brands that most of these brands that you brought up or that we've brought
Mhm.
up, it's like you go to their website and it's like, man, this is like a free Shopify theme. I
Yeah.
mean, most likely, they're pretty simple.
Yep.
Like we talked about a bunch of examples last time. Middle class fancy was one that we talked about. I mean,
Yep.
it's as easily something you can make on Shopify.
Totally.
With a free theme. And so, anyways, I just think that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I'm pretty sure they do print on demand as well. I don't know like which print on demand provider they're using or whatnot, but if like you read their shipping, you can tell if they're using print on demand or they say it. And there is like an angle that you can take with print on demand, kind of like that environmental angle, which actually kind of helps your case when you have longer shipping times. You say like, oh, we create these made to order because so much waste goes, or so much apparel goes, to waste if it's pre-made. And so they only print on demand to reduce wastage. And there's an angle. If you're an ethical brand, or if that's something that you want to be, you want to be known for, if you want to be an eco-friendly brand, there's all these angles that you can take. But that's one that's really good with print on demand, and it kind of helps your case for the longer shipping times. People are like, oh, okay, I get it. They're making it to order so that they're not pre-making a bunch of stuff that they might have to throw out or get rid of or something like that. Because it is like a hugely wasteful, like apparel, unfortunately, is just a really, really wasteful industry where big companies like the H&Ms and the Zaras and stuff, a lot of times from what I heard, they'll just dump like massive piles of clothing in like landfills because they can't sell them and they don't want to like devalue their brand by like fire selling them. So you got to be, you can take that angle with print on demand. But I just think that these guys did a really good job of creating like, again, that like premium lifestyle brand. And there are a lot of vegan inspired brands out there, and I'm sure a lot of them are doing good. Another one that's really funny is Vegetarian. Her name's Taryn. She's a vegan, and she created a brand called Vegetarian, which I think is so clever. She has some hilarious designs. And I just like how Wholesome Culture, they actually kind of separate themselves from a lot of other vegan designs by being like this premium lifestyle brand. And if you go to their Instagram, you can see like they have good imagery, they have good product photos, they have a lot of people wearing their products. And I just think they do a really good job. But there are also so many ways that you can add value in this niche as a brand. So just some ideas here. You can share vegan recipes to a blog, or you can email them out to your audience. You can organize vegan events. You can share cool vegan restaurants in certain areas. You can even become an affiliate marketer for some of these vegan restaurants where you make recommendations. And if people use the link to make a reservation, then maybe you get a commission or something like that. I just feel there's a lot of places you can go with this. And in terms of overlapping interests, if you are in the vegan niche or you want to be in it, some that I know personally from brands I've seen and from being like a vegan myself, I do sometimes, just to be really clear, I do sometimes go vegetarian. So I don't want like you see these photos. I actually saw a photo of a vegan influencer, and someone took a photo of them eating like meat once. And it went like viral, and everyone hated on this influencer and stuff. And like, I'm definitely not a big influencer. I'm not like, nobody knows who I am really. And maybe just a small percentage of people in the POD space. But it's just funny because people get really passionate.
I'm a fan, Adrian. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm your biggest fan.
I've got one fan. All right, cool. I've got one fan. I'll take it.
Follow Adrian on TikTok. He crushes it on TikTok.
But if you see me eating a cheese pizza in public, do not hate. I am saying that I'm primarily vegan, sometimes vegetarian. But
you don't judge those that eat meat like myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, each to their own. People have different reasons for being vegans, and that's another angle you can take. There's like some people do it for environment, people do it for health, some people do it for ethical reasons. There's lots of different reasons. And again, if you're part of this niche, you know a lot of this stuff. So yeah, I just feel like this is a niche with a ton of potential. And I think someone can still come in and make an absolute killing with this niche.
For sure.
So, but I was going to share some cross niche ideas for this. And a couple of them are, I find vegans and cats go really well together. Vegans and books, like reading, vegans and tea. And literally my wife falls into every single one of those overlapping interests. She's vegan and she falls into every single one. But I've also seen designs that fall into this. So I'm not going to say any more about that. I think I've already said a lot about it. Why don't you take the next one, Kerry?
Yes, sir. The next one on the list is gaming. Obviously, gaming is huge. I mean, there's so many different types of games, genres of games. There are different types of people who play games. And kind of the same thing you just mentioned, just to touch on, is like, you can cross it with so many different things. You can, because people like to do different things while they game, or maybe, certain type of person that loves other things falls into that gaming category. And you also put here, which is interesting, is like, there's tons of gaming influencers. You think about a platform like Twitch that's like, almost all just like gamers, there's tournaments, events around the world. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think gaming is a popular one, good opportunity to get in there. I mean, gaming kind of is another one of those ones where I feel like I see a lot of cheesy brands. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like, maybe a lot of people trying to go for like the retro gaming thing, which I think
I've seen that. Like level
but
4 unlocked, then it's like a pixelated
yeah,
controller.
it's like game over pixels,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I'm just like, so again, like it is one of those niches. It's gonna have a lot of brands in it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of places you can get these kind of gaming t-shirts. So it's important to have your own spin on it and your
Yeah,
own unique take.
yeah.
Um, I almost wonder, this is kind of an off the wall idea, but I almost wonder, if you could create a gaming niche around like some of these more trendy designs that we've kind of like design styles that we've seen, rather than just going for like everything has to be bright colors and pixels and different,
Pixelated,
like
retro.
I wonder if if there is an opportunity to make a more like fashionable or current or trendy um gaming related. I don't know. I don't
So you're
maybe there's
thinking like a premium lifestyle brand
yeah.
that is like gaming inspired.
Yeah.
That
I
would
don't
be pretty
know.
cool. I've never seen it. I've
You'd have
never
to
seen
you'd,
one,
you'd
and
have to
maybe they
really
exist.
think through
But
it.
yeah,
But I do think that I think you typically think of gamers as the 14-year-old kid
yeah,
drinking a Mountain Dew, eating Doritos, like playing Fortnite or whatever, Halo, or I think there's a lot of people out there that don't fit into the nerdy kind of category
oh,
that
totally.
that do game.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know. Maybe those people don't want to say that they're gamers. I don't know. I mean, I play Pokemon Go with my 7-year-old. I guess I'm a
yeah.
gamer. Like,
Would you wear a Pokemon Go shirt?
probably not. But
That
maybe if it was
is
cool
cute.
though. But maybe if it was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Maybe if it was actually cool. Like maybe if it
Right.
was, vintage or kind of whatever. I don't
Like
know.
on trend,
Yeah.
something really cool.
Yeah. Maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah. You're
Uh,
right though. You're totally right about how like I think the first thing you think when you think of gamers, you think, oh, kids, like elementary school, high school kids. But man, there are so many different categories of gamers. There are so many adult gamers. There are grandma gamers. There are female gamers. There are like just so many different, you're right. Like it does fall into so many different categories. So I feel like maybe you could like drill down further.
Man, I'm looking on. We don't have a really great example. I don't. Do you have any examples in this category? I don't. I don't. I
Gaming?
don't.
No.
But I'm looking on. I'm looking on Instagram. I just searched gaming and like one of the first ones that came up, which might be interesting, is this chick that her name's Alyssa Nguyen. I don't know anything about her, but her title is gaming foodie. And
Okay. Oh, wow.
I wonder if she's got anything on here about gaming. It doesn't look like it, so maybe not. Well, yeah, I think she's mostly focused on food, but a couple other ones on here like there's one called Gaming Bible that's interesting. Like I want to kind of look at. Anyways, there's probably some on here that have merch though that might have
Oh,
a
there
cool
are.
spin on it.
I've
You
seen
know,
I've seen I've seen influencers who have like links to like a merch site, and usually it's just like something like a Teespring or something like that. Um, but I also wanted to say, oh, there's something,
there's some big accounts on Instagram,
yeah,
gaming accounts,
huge, huge. Oh,
millions.
what I was gonna say is if you go on like somewhere like Etsy or Amazon, you'll see just a ton of gaming shirts. And you see like the kids ones where they're mixing like the kid's birthday with like the gaming,
Yeah,
like level 5 activated because they're like turning 5 or something like that. But it would be interesting. Like there's so many gamer influencers out there, and that's a good point to mention about all the niches. Like you and
there's
I,
so
we're
many different
both
types of
big
games.
advocates. Well, but like also in terms of influencers, like every
Yeah,
niche that we've mentioned, there's probably tons of influencers in that niche. And you and I, we're both big advocates of influencer marketing. It's a great low cost option. Like you can spend a lot on influencer marketing, but you can also spend very little. Like I've never ever paid an influencer. We've worked with a ton of influencers. We only give them free merch. And we've
yeah.
asked some that were really big. I remember once I just felt really like brave and I reached out to an influencer with over 1 million followers and I was like, hey, can we give you like free merch in exchange for like a shout out or exchange for a post? And I actually almost got them. So
What?
do not underestimate, like give it a go. Like it can be a shotgun approach. I actually have like a template that I use that I send to influencers, and usually there's a strategy behind it. Like I'll follow them well in advance, I'll like a lot of their stuff, I'll interact with their posts,
Yep.
and then eventually I'll reach out to them, and they have to like be a good fit. But this one with the million, with over 1 million. She almost did it, but at the end, like we couldn't make it work. She wanted, her usual rate was $5,000 a post. Plus she wanted an affiliate link. Yeah. Plus she wanted an affiliate link, which I was fine with, but it was the $5,000 a post that got me. So
That's a lot, dude. If it doesn't
yes.
perform, it's like, oh
Right,
man.
exactly. And you know what? Most of the time, the micro influencers outperform
Yeah.
the macro influencers. They have like a more engaged like community that they
Yeah.
actually interact with. And I think that that's like a common misconception is that, oh, if I get like a Kylie Jenner to promote my product, I'm going to make a ton of sales. But a lot of these people have all these followers who don't interact with them. They don't, it's this smaller
Well, and
group
as you
generally.
get more followers, your reach percentage goes down. That's just
Right,
just how the algorithm works, I guess. It's like you're going to
right.
reach more people. 5% of a million is more than 1% of, whatever, 100,000 or something. Hopefully I'm doing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyways, yeah, well, I was going to mention before we move on, one area I just thought of gaming that might be a little bit less explored is the metaverse, and those kind of things might also be a little bit trendy. I know, we've had like a crypto crash and all these different things, but this is more of a emerging market of VR gaming, the metaverse, those kind of things that maybe you could go that route and create a gaming brand around some of those things. Man, I don't have my VR anymore. Have you ever done the Oculus?
I have not.
Dude,
No, I'm
it's
not a
really
gamer
cool.
at all. Like I never game, and it's not because I have something against gaming. It seems like it's really addictive, and I don't want to be addicted to
But
gaming.
you're a fitness guy. You're a fitness guy.
That's true.
The Oculus, like the VR is really, really cool. Like we would play this game called Beat Saber, and
Okay,
it's so cool. And it was such a good workout. And I
nice.
would play ping pong with my brother while he was at his house. And it was
That's
so
cool.
realistic. We could play ping pong.
That's cool.
And so, anyways, that might be something that's a little less explored in the gaming niche that somebody could take advantage of.
Yeah. Actually, dude, when I was a kid, I did have a power pad. Do you remember that? Like,
No,
I'm totally dating myself here. That's like one of those pads where you like run on and there's like all these games. It has like all
I've
these
never
like
heard of that.
circles and numbers and like you run on it and there's games where you press different things. It's actually kind of complicated to explain, but
I was a Sega kid.
oh,
Sonic
okay,
all
okay.
the
I
way.
loved Sega when I was a kid too. So, but anyhow, I digress. The last thing I want to mention, like gaming.
Wait. Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I thought you were moving on to the next niche. I just had another thought that I didn't want to make. I wanted to make sure didn't
Yeah,
pass.
actually, two things that I thought of
Go.
to finish off the thought on influencer marketing. I will say that in most cases, it's much better to get a bunch of micro influencers than one big influencer. You're gonna do better. You're gonna get a more passionate community following them, and you're more likely to make sales. Plus, all those micro influencers, a lot of times they will charge very low rates, if any at all. And if you're like me and you make a rule for yourself, like at this point, we're only willing to give free merch in exchange for shout outs and posts, then you don't pay anything. So I just want to mention that to kind of wrap up the thought about influencer marketing. But in terms of gaming, like just to give people an idea, I don't know if people know this, but like there are like leagues around gaming, and there's even tournaments where fans will pack a stadium to watch these gamers in the middle of the stadium playing a video game. The big projector screen above them is showing all of them, and people this is a thing. Like
Dude,
this is a thing. It's actually really
I
crazy.
told you me and Calvin, my son, play this game. We play Pokemon Go, which
Yeah.
most everybody knows. It came out like years ago. Every year they have the Pokemon Go World Championships.
Do they really?
Yeah,
No
and it's like
way.
they have it at I can't remember where last year was at. I want to say like Tokyo or like Singapore or somewhere around there.
Crazy.
It's flipping wild, there are so many influencers on YouTube specifically about and their whole channels around Pokemon Go. Some of these
Yeah.
guys have multiple millions of followers. Like it is insane. Facebook groups, like I'm in Facebook groups for Pokemon Go that
Okay.
have hundreds of thousands of people in them. Like just insane, dude.
Crazy. Dude, imagine having some of those influencers playing a game and wearing a shirt that's hilarious, that's totally relevant to whatever niche that is, like the Pokemon Go niche or something.
Yeah.
And I think people would see that and be like, that's hilarious. Like, I want that. The influencer has it. That's a hilarious shirt. And
Yep.
yeah, I think that could do.
I didn't know we were gonna. I didn't know we were gonna go this deep on gaming, but I have one more thing. I have one more thing I have to say.
All right, let's go.
One thing that we have totally not even mentioned in the gaming niche that is would probably be the way that I would go if I was gonna go into gaming. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Board games. We didn't even think about it.
Oh,
right?
interesting.
Board games.
That never crossed my mind.
Yeah, no, this is actually huge. So if you're not familiar with this game, my wife and I and our friends, we play this game. It's actually growing in popularity like crazy. Go to Google and search Settlers of Catan t-shirts.
Oh, I played it. So popular.
No, search the t-shirts because they are awesome.
T-shirts.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Dude, like it goes way beyond t-shirts. There is a whole just insane amount of products that you can do around Catan. And there's some really funny t-shirts out there. I think this is a great opportunity. It's a growing niche. I built this city on rock and wheat. I love that.
Nice.
There's so many good ones, but that's one that's growing. And there's so many other board games out there that you can do this with. But this one specifically, like there's so many things about Catan that is not copyright or trademark. That's like you could totally create a whole brand and crush it around around Catan.
I have a friend who's obsessed with that game. Like anytime you go to his place, he's like, let's play Settlers of Catan, let's go. He's like the first person that introduced me to it. And he's like hardcore, loves it.
We've got all the expansions and different things.
Oh, nice.
We play Seafarers is our favorite one, but.
Okay, so you're like really into it. You know way more than I do about Settlers.
This is all I do. You travel, I play board games and Pokemon Go and, eat meat. Record podcasts.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right.
And you take the next one.
All right. So the next one, and this one you got to be careful with, but this one is politics. And as anyone who lives in America knows, and even if you don't live in America, you know that politics is extremely polarized here, like extremely. You've got very passionate people on one side, you got very passionate people on the other side, and then you got a bunch of people in the middle. But those very passionate people, man, there is money
will buy it all.
Be made. They'll buy it all. They want it all. They want the car bumper stickers. They want the hat. They want the shirt. They want everything. They want the blanket. They want the flag. They want it all.
Dude,
and
man.
I feel like it's such a lucrative niche. Like I've always been tempted to go into it. I haven't because there's certain things that I wouldn't sell because I just don't believe in them.
Yeah.
Like it's a personal values thing where I would not sell something that goes against my values. It's just, I'm not interested in it. And there's lots of people who don't care and they'll do it and that's their prerogative. But personally, I will not. And so two things I don't really like to get too much in detail with when I'm having conversation with people is religion and politics. And the reason is just because they can get so heated and some people are so passionate and they have the right to be passionate, for what they believe in. But I just it makes me uncomfortable when people get really heated about that kind of stuff. So I kind of stay away from those things. But yeah, like politics, man, there is so much money to be made, especially in the run up to elections.
It's coming up. I mean,
exactly. So you're going to start seeing a whole bunch more political merch coming out. But one thing that I heard that quite a few people do is they'll listen to a debate and they will be ready to come up with slogans. They will watch the whole debate. They'll just grab some popcorn. And every time they hear someone say something stupid or something controversial or something really clever, they're like,
throw it on a t-shirt.
They throw it on a shirt. And that night, by midnight, they've got multiple designs out. And a lot of them absolutely crush it with that kind of thing. And you've probably seen them. You've seen some of these shirts excuse me, I'm speaking. And when they go low, we go high, and all these different kind of slogans that people take from debates and they just throw them on shirts. And some people absolutely crush it with this. Yeah. So that's why I had to bring it up because it is so lucrative.
It is definitely, it's definitely lucrative. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a couple things. Number one, you just have to be the right person that really wants to get into it. I mean, I think that most people I see going in. What's that?
It's not for everyone.
Yeah. Most people I see going into this niche of politics, they are extremely fired up about one side or the other. And, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Just, do your thing. There's a lot of opportunity, but one hurdle that you might face is that most of the time you're not going to be able to run much paid ads to these
Yes.
kind of stores. So especially Facebook ads, I mean, you might be able to get around it in some cases.
Yeah.
Or, I think on Facebook there is like, you can actually put a disclaimer on there that says that basically says this is
Political.
political, and
Yeah.
there's maybe some hoops you have to jump through with Facebook. But it's very difficult to get ads approved. And especially if you're going to put out designs that are like really controversial, one that does really, really well is gun ownership and gun rights.
Oh, Second Amendment stuff.
Yeah, Second Amendment stuff, which is
Yeah.
really
Super passionate.
super passionate. But it's like,
Yeah.
you just can't put a gun on a Facebook ad, So
tough.
it's like you're extremely limited on that kind of stuff, or any sayings that might be vulgar or anything like that. It's
Right.
I feel like it's a shame that we even have to say that. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
but
politics,
you're totally right.
It's vulgarity involved, whatever. But
That it's tough.
But as Adrian said, like, it's super huge. I live here in Oklahoma. If you're not aware, Oklahoma is a very red state, extremely red. And so like you often see like on street corners, people back up their truck full of merch and just sell, flags, tees, hats, bags, anything you can think of. And it's like, especially during a more of an election season, you're not seeing it so much right now, but it'll start to pop up more. It's like, man, they could probably go out there and make 10 grand, just pull up on a street corner next to a convenience store and like sell everything.
Totally.
It's wild. So yeah, there's almost unlimited demand, especially around kind of an election cycle, and but just something to be careful getting into.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it even goes a little further than that. So around election time, and they're always kind of changing too. Like there's certain social media where they will not let any political ads run, and they'll be very careful about stuff that gets put, like ads and stuff. And then there's some that are a bit more flexible. I know Facebook has been the controversial one where I think it was Facebook that allows political ads and stuff like that. But my friend who's in the social justice niche wasn't even in politics, like specifically like American politics, but they were still like, not a bunch of their best-selling designs were taken down around the time of the last election, because they said that you weren't allowed to run any political ads during that time with the lead up to the election, because I don't know, like it's controversial, or maybe it's because they thought there might be false information being spread. I don't know, but all I know is that like it actually spills out even further than just politics. But yeah, like you also have to be careful with politics, with names that you mention, certain people. You will see a lot of shirts out there on websites and on Etsy and on Amazon. But like sometimes if you're mentioning a name, you might not actually be able to mention that name, and you can get an account terminated, or you can get, an email, like a cease and desist or a takedown email or something like that regarding it. So there are some other things that you need to be careful too. Anytime that you're mentioning people's names, you want to be extra careful.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
The next one here, I'm excited. We've been waiting the whole time. You put this one last on the list, is why it's taken so long to get here.
So we teased this one in the first episode, and then we teased it at the end of the first episode.
Yeah. It's pickleball. It's pickleball, baby. Let's go. I'm pumped on this one. So just so everybody knows out there, I've gone pickleball crazy.
Nice.
I've gone completely pickleball crazy. Started playing on Sunday nights at my church in a group there, and then I've just like gone crazy. Like I want to play. I want to play every day. The bummer is here in Oklahoma that there's really almost no indoor facilities, and the weather's really bad. So it's like there's like one gym that's open, like 3 courts indoors, and else if you don't have a membership to the gym, like you have to play at a church or you have to play at like a community center. So I've been struggling so hard. So I've actually wanted to get in some capacity, wanted to get into the pickleball niche. I really want to open some indoor courts.
Do it, dude.
But like I have to find a huge building, and then actually like paint some courts and different things. So it's because you need a lot of space. It's not a big court, but you need a lot of space. But anyways, the pickleball niche. I think this is like one of the best opportunities out there. I'm going to tell you why. If you're not aware, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America 2 years in a row.
Crazy.
They got 21-21 in 2022.
So crazy.
Get this. I believe it's from 2021 to 2022, it went from 5 million people that play pickleball in the US to 36 million people.
What?
2021 to 2022. Yeah.
That's
There's
crazy.
over 10,000 facilities in the US that have been built in the last few years
Oh,
for pickleball. I mean, it's insane. The biggest age demographic is 18 to 34, which is interesting.
mm,
I find really interesting because a lot of older people play pickleball. That's one of the
yeah.
yeah, but it actually
I'm
like
in Arizona. It's very popular with retirees here, like
yeah,
really, really popular. So I always thought it was kind of like a retiree sport,
yeah.
but clearly
Well,
not so
it's become this like it's become this thing where it's like a social sport. You know, it's like
much.
cornhole. It's like
Right.
like there's all these businesses coming out. There's one called Chicken and Pickle that just opened in Oklahoma City about an hour and a half, and they're a nationwide. They're nationwide, but they have indoor and outdoor courts. But then they also have a sports bar, and
Cool.
they have like sports. They have TVs and sports on, and you can rent out courts, and you can get food, and then they have like cornhole, and they have like like whatever. I'm blanking on the frisbee game. But just different things like that. And it's this really, really trendy, like cool facility. And
Awesome.
dude, the game is just so much fun. It's growing like crazy. And so I have actually been, I've been finding a few pickleball brands out there. They're starting to pop up of,
Mm,
t-shirts and apparel and different things. But
hmm.
I'm telling you, because pickleball is such a social sport, like it lends itself to like the funny designs that
Right.
you asked me, I don't remember if that was the last episode or this episode. You asked me would I wear Pokemon Go shirts? And I
Yeah,
probably wouldn't because I'm embarrassed of that.
that was this episode.
But yeah, that was it. But I would wear funny pickleball shirts because like I go with my friends to play
Yeah,
pickleball and it's like I want to roll up there in like a funny t-shirt,
that'd be so
and
funny.
so I think this is a really, really great opportunity.
Yeah,
You can create apparel for that you could wear on the court, or you can just
yeah,
create funny apparel because people are like losing their minds over the sport, including myself.
um,
I want to play every day. Like I'm
yeah.
so into it. It's so much fun.
Oh man, I
Um,
gotta play. I gotta
dude,
try it. I like
it's so much
everybody
fun.
here is playing it now. Like everybody, my wife plays it, and
Really?
like yeah, like she has friends who play it, and she goes with her friend who plays with her mom, and so they all get together and play. And like I feel like 5 years ago, I'd never even heard of pickleball,
Yep.
and now like everybody I know knows what it is, and so many of them play it. I remember when I first moved to Arizona, I was at a local community center working out at the gym, and I looked down. There was like glass over like a gym court, and I saw these people playing this like weird looking sport, and I'd never seen it played before. I was like, "What is that?" And it was like older people playing it, and I had no clue what it was, but I eventually found out it was pickleball, and then I found out that there were pickleball leagues, and it just seems like I mean, statistically, like you said, every year it's getting more popular, and this doesn't seem like a sport that's gonna like it doesn't seem like something that's just gonna disappear like a trend. You know how like something like pogs, like way back in the day, like pogs were really cool and trendy, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
like you never hear about pogs anymore and stuff like that. Like I feel like pickleball is like a sport that's here to stay, and because it's so new, a lot of people have not tapped into it, and especially people like you who are getting really passionate about it. You would know like the funny slogans. I
Yeah.
would not know the funny slogans to use. I would have to do some research and maybe talk to some people that played it or play it myself, which I actually really want to now. You've totally like sold me on this. I can't
Yeah,
wait to get out
I
there
was
and play
trying to find
pickleball.
some of the brands because I've been joining so many groups and different things that I've been getting Facebook ads for some of the like apparel brands, and some
Okay.
of them are really, really clever, but I
Nice.
can't quite find them right on the spot.
Yeah.
But oh, I was just gonna say some things to support what you're saying about it not just being a fad is that well, number one, a lot of people are talking about the health and fitness benefits of it,
Mm,
because it's really helping older people get active,
cool.
because
Awesome.
it's so much fun, but it's a
Mhm.
smaller court than tennis, and it doesn't
Yeah.
require you to be as mobile, and it's actually a lot easier than tennis. It's like some people who maybe have never been good at racket sports, like pickleball
Mm,
is way easier. Like you can pick it up pretty
nice.
quickly and get in the flow of it pretty decently. But one other thing is, if you're familiar with pickleball at all, like you've heard about all the celebrities getting into it, which is
Oh,
insane.
really?
Oh my gosh,
No
dude!
way.
Like a lot of athletes, Drew Brees, Dirk
Oh,
Nowitzki,
sweet.
Kevin Durant, Tom
What?
Brady. Like recently, Gary V bought a pickleball team.
No way.
Jamie Foxx. I mean, like the list goes on and on. Like it's like an endless list of celebrities and athletes that have
Easy.
invested and like got into the sport, and they're buying these teams. And one other thing is some of these tournaments that are a lot of the tournaments now are like they have over six-figure prize pools. Like if you win, like they're like
Whoa.
six-figure plus prize pool. Like I think the one I saw the other day was a senior. It was like 60 plus
Okay.
or 55 plus, and it had over $100,000 prize pool, which is pretty crazy. Like they're just it's just getting insane. Like it's growing like
That's
crazy.
insane.
And so
Well,
I do.
especially with all the celebrity endorsements and stuff. Like when
Yeah,
celebrities are playing and stuff, that's just gonna bring more attention to it and like rapidly like shoot up like the popularity.
I do think it's going to be around. It's something anybody can get into, and it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to continue to grow for sure,
Yeah,
at least for
huge
the foreseeable
opportunity
future.
right there. Like, man, it just like it's just one of those things that just kind of like AI that just kind of like came out of nowhere really fast. Like, you know, AI people knew about it before, but only since like ChatGPT like came out, like everything just kind of shot way up. It Yeah, it's just crazy. Like I know like my sister-in-law, her parents, they snowbird. They're up near Vancouver where I'm originally from, and they come down to Arizona. They go to Yuma every year. And he's like super crazy passionate into pickleball. I think he plays every single day and he's here for like probably 4 months. And yeah, it's just like everyone's picking it up, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Like they're
if you're listening to this and you don't start a pickleball brand, I'm coming for you.
yeah.
I'm gonna start my own, and we're gonna dominate.
Dude, watch in like a year's time, there's going to be like 100 pickleball brands. But like there is like that first mover's advantage. And if you can plant your flag in the ground as like the premier pickleball apparel brand, man, I feel like you could grow like your followers really fast, especially if you're putting out value, you know, like pickleball skills and pickleball, talking about pickleball tournaments and cool stuff like that. There's so much
Yep.
you could do with it. So that is such a good suggestion and one that I hope people jump on. Like I
Yeah.
really, really hope they'll jump on.
Adrian, we've got one
Cool.
more on the list here.
Yes.
It's the last one down there. You feel free to talk about it if you want to, or I can take it and we can kind of just branch off from there.
Why don't you take this one because it was on your list. I'm just curious to know kind of the angle you come from, and then if I have anything else to say, I'll like contribute.
Yeah, the last one here is again, it's not a lot of them one that I put on here. They're not necessarily like a niche, but it's an angle on most of these niches we talked about, and it is so. The last one on our list is vintage and retro, and you know, it's almost like any not necessarily every niche, but most of these niches you can take that vintage or retro angle to it, which makes can make it somewhat unique, right?
Yeah.
You know, even just taking some, like we just talked about pickleball, right? Like pickleball is a newer sport, but if you took some vintage or retro inspired designs, you know, like think about some 80s pickleball inspired designs, like those would be awesome, you know, because
Yeah.
most of the people who are playing pickleball are born in the 80s or born in the 90s, right? And like you can kind of take that angle on it. So I think vintage and retro, to an extent, I think it's always kind of trendy, but I think it's been especially trendy the last couple years. Just
Yeah.
you know, the 90s, the 80s, those kind of things. And so you know, I think taking a vintage angle on anything, but you could also kind of look at it as a niche. I mean, you could go into vintage designs, but I think that's a little too broad. I think adding it to one of these niches we've talked about or your own niche is probably the best approach.
I agree. I like the idea of incorporating vintage designs into another niche. So one that you probably see all the time is the sunsets background.
Yep.
You know, where it has like the different color palette. Usually it's like a red, orange, yellow, something like that. And this is so popular. And you see it in every niche. And it's just a great way to like maybe remix a winning design. So if you have a design that's doing really well, and let's say it's like a white design on a black shirt, remix the design. You can use the exact same slogan, but you could like make it on a sunset background because maybe that'll appeal to people who like that retro look. And I see this all the time, like in the dog niche and the cat niche. You'll see, you'll see a shirt with like a silhouette of like a black cat and it'll be like a sunset background. And it just kind of adds some color and pop to it, gives it that vintage feel. And you're right, like it's really popular right now. You see those vintage designs everywhere.
Another one I did that did really, really well for me was, and you maybe have seen variations of this, is like the AC/DC like tour shirt. And so I did a shirt like that and changed, used the same kind of like AC/DC font and did a tour type thing on the back, but I made it for my own niche. And so I just I was inspired by that tour t-shirt. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like that. Like it's not necessarily, there's not one type of vintage. Like you're talking about more like outdoorsy kind of type stuff, maybe that angle, but like there's also like vintage gaming, and there's also music related stuff, and there's different things like that. So it's all about the nostalgia, right? Like another thing is like you think about sports and you think about like vintage NBA jerseys and NBA tees and like NFL type stuff and starter jackets, like taking some of that flavor from those things and doing mimicking some of the elements of those designs and adding those into your niche, man, can be a really awesome strategy for sure.
Yeah. No, that's a good one, and something that could be incorporated in almost any niche, which is cool. So
definitely.
Very cool.
Any other niches that you're thinking about, Adrian? I think we covered a lot, man.
We've covered so much here. Like if I took a minute, I could definitely think of lots more, but we just dug so deep into so many that like that's a lot of information. So
I think just to kind of maybe wrap it up a little bit, or give maybe not a recap, but like an overall strategy tips here. I think big things to think about, we talked about some things like vintage. We talked about some things like personalization. Think of when you define your niche, think about how you can go a little bit deeper, how you can be a little bit different. Yes. And think about some of the additional elements that you might be able to add to that niche to make it unique and different, like personalization, or maybe vintage and retro, or maybe
something interests.
Or maybe stacking interest, adding multiple, or really going deep on who your customer is, right? You might have a Christian brand, but it might be for just older people or younger people or middle-aged or whatever, so thinking about those things, the location of your customer, like these are all ways to stand out and be different when it comes to your niche. So I guess those would be my tips of just really thinking about those things and seeing how you can add those to your niche to make it unique and different.
Yeah, I completely agree. The more you can differentiate, the better. And when people, when you layer down on your niche, there are so many, you can layer down by so many things. You mentioned a lot of good examples. Another one is like income earners. Like if you want to create a premium lifestyle brand and you want to create really cool on-trend products for a specific niche, I feel like there's not enough competition in that space. I feel like everyone's competing for these, like selling these like $18 to $20 t-shirts. And it's like, dude, like you're competing in the least profitable. Yeah. You're in like the least profitable space. Like your profit margins are so small that then you're forced to do high volume. And if you run ads, that costs money, which makes it very hard. So, I mean, I like there's so many ways that you can layer down. And like you, Carrie, I always encourage people to incorporate multiple layers on top of a niche. So
I think that about does it, man. What a great episode.
Yeah. That's it. So let's wrap it up there. This has been a lot of fun. I hope people loved it. I'd love to hear people's feedback. And guys, like if you're on like YouTube, comment like what are some good profitable niches? What niches are you in? What niches do you see with potential? Would love to hear from you guys. Like this is such a small sample size of all the profitable niches out there. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we will sign off here. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us an honest review on whichever platform you are listening from. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon.